Hi everyone. Tonight I wanted to talk about IEPs. It's a pretty popular topic in the special needs world. If you're a special needs parent, I'm sure you've already experienced an IEP yourself. And if you're new to the special needs world, IEP stands for Individualized Education Plan. And it's basically a legal document that goes into detail about your child's education plan. Basically, goals that would be set for your child. It goes over developmental delays, cognitive delays, and it's personalized for your child. And you may not have a child that has autism. You may have a child that has another disability, so their IEP would include all of the information based on their needs and what the school will need to do to accommodate your child, what type of therapies that would be offered to help your child succeed in school. In my personal experience, I have done this a few times. I have an IEP with now all three of my children. My first child, Savannah, who is 8 years old, she has severe nonverbal autism. She also has a genetic disorder called Fragile X. My middle child, he's 6, junior, and he has an IEP for speech. My youngest is almost 3, and he now has an IEP for Fragile X. So I got to do something the other day that I haven't done in a while, and that's experiencing an IEP with a different child. I've done it with my other two, but Sawyer's my baby, and he's still 2 years old. So going into this, I was mentally prepared for what I was going to hear. I knew I was going to hear all of the results from his evaluation, and I knew we would go over his cognitive delays, developmental delays, speech delays, fine motor, just everything. And I was prepared for that. I've done this before. I know that all of us are going to sit in a room for at least an hour. I've sat in them for 3, sometimes 4 hours, depending on what needs to be said with everyone in the room. I was pretty prepared. You know, he had his evaluation just days before the meeting, and I was expecting to hear the results, you know, and just move forward, make a plan, and get him ready for school. So here I am sitting in this meeting with my 2-year-old next to me, and we're going over his evaluation. And I was prepared for what we were going to go over. But what I wasn't prepared for were the results. And I don't think you ever really are. With my daughter, I know I wasn't really expecting what we would go over as far as her education plan. I was a first-time mom and just kind of went with the flow as to how the IEP would go, kind of let the school lead the way. So with my third, I knew that I would get to go over everything. So I'm sitting there with Sawyer, and we're going over his results. And nothing prepares you for the outcome. Everything is measured on a graph on a piece of paper. And there's your child, and there's where your child should be. And your child's here, or in my case, my child's here, and this is where he should be. So now we need to work this in-between part and get him to up here. So that's basically what the meeting is about. Just the success for your child. You want them to be successful in school. Ultimately, everyone that's in this meeting wants the same thing that you do. And I know that IEPs can be so intimidating, and they can be so long, and I think a lot of parents just resist them because you don't want to know all of the negative things that they're going to say about your child, because in your eyes, your child is perfect. And I experienced that in this meeting, looking at my 2-year-old, and he's a sweet toddler. And, hearing this is where he's at, developmentally, this is where he's at cognitively. It's hard. I mean, I don't think that it gets easier hearing the reality, seeing it on paper, and really just accepting it. And I want what's best for him. I want him to succeed. I want him to talk. Right now he's 3 and he's nonverbal, and we are working to have some speech. We're working really hard, and imitation comes first and then speech follows. And with him, we just don't have the speech yet. So with him starting school, even at 3 years old, I mean, he's a baby, but ultimately it's what's best for him. And he's going to learn a lot. And I know that we're gonna work, and we're gonna work hard on getting him to talk. That's really the main focus, is communication. So it's hard. I mean, IEPs, they're long and they're detailed. With my oldest daughter, it is like 25 pages long. Everything is detailed because she's nonverbal. So every need and every minute of her day is included in that education plan. It's that important. It's that precise. And with an average child, you don't have to worry about these things. You don't have to think about it. You take your child to school, you drop them off, have a great day. You know that they're developmentally where they need to be, and they're with kids their age, and they're just average kids. But when you have a special needs child, it's so different. This is our world. We are their advocate, and we have to plan everything. We have to plan their education. We have to plan their day-to-day at school. We have to plan on who's going to work with them, what they're going to work on, when they're going to work on it, how many minutes, how many hours. It's all included in your IEP. And I will say that in my personal experience, I have not had a negative IEP. I'm really thankful for that, because I know a lot of parents really have to fight for their children and really have to advocate and have to try to force the school to help their child. And I feel so bad for those parents that have to just fight and fight for what their child needs. And I hope that you succeed in that. And, in my personal experience, like I said, we've been very fortunate, and we've worked with great people at the school, and we've even moved to different schools in different states, and we've been successful with their IEP. So I will say that I think it can be a positive thing. Ultimately, you want your child to succeed. Ultimately, you want them to improve. You want them to reach all of their goals that are included in their IEP. And it's just a plan. And I think one thing that parents may not know or think about is that it's not always permanent. Depending on your child's diagnosis, an IEP, your child may have one for a few years or maybe a year, and maybe they meet their goals and they're released, and the school may not feel like they need those therapies anymore, that they've reached, the point that they need to be at. So it really just depends on your child's diagnosis. In our case, I know that for the rest of Savannah's school career, we will always have an IEP. And I've accepted that. I'm okay with it. It's taken a long time to, I guess, admit that. It's just what she needs. And if it helps her, then okay. Then, this is going to be what's best for her. So keep that in mind. Keep in mind that it doesn't have to be scary, and you can have a really great turnout. You can have great results in an IEP. A lot of questions will get answered. You'll get to put your input in, and you'll get to hear how your child's doing also. You'll have follow-up IEPs. Sometimes it's every 6 months or maybe a year, just depending on how the goals are set for your child. So in our case, we have them fairly often to see where Savannah is at academically, socially, developmentally, because it's not like she can come home and tell us. And, we speak with her teacher. We've always spoke with her teachers or her paras that work with her on a daily basis. But you want to know how they're doing academically, and all of those questions are answered in an IEP. So really, just advocate for your child, just help them succeed. It's very easy. I could see how someone could get really defensive in an IEP because you hear things that you don't want to. A lot of times you may go in thinking that's not the case. You get the results of something, or you find out that a therapy isn't working, or, just something you don't want to hear, and accept it. Accept it and move forward and make a plan. Make a new goal, make a new plan, and just keep advocating, keep going. And IEPs can be really beneficial. I think they're, looked at. There's a lot of things you'll read on the internet about, how people dread IEPs. And I think it really depends on the school and the school district. So, look at it like this is something really good for your child. And it's going to be a positive thing, ultimately. So with that being said, good luck. And I want to hear about your experience with IEPs. So comment, let me know if you have questions, if you're new to this whole special needs world and you're scared and you don't know what you're going into, let me know. So good luck, and I hope to hear from all of you. Thanks.